everybody, and welcome back to my channel. Welcome to my first reading vlog. This one follows along a couple different books and reading journeys over a little bit of time. So welcome, and let's jump right in with Dark Window by Rachel Gillig. Okay, ignoring my messy room and this crazy hair, I just got to part 3, page 321. I have some thoughts about this book. I feel like it's also one of my first fantasy reads, so I don't want to judge it too harshly just because I'm like just getting into the fantasy world, but the first one that I read was Fourth Wing. I'm very glad that I didn't take a break from fantasy. Like, I'm glad that I went from Fourth Wing straight into One Dark Window, because basically it helped me, like, when you're reading a book and just like not understanding the words because they're just made up places or made up people or made up like things. And that helped me like get over that fact. I think Fourth Wing was like a great one to start with, to be honest, for me. We'll see when I read more, but that helped, like not having a break between that helped when I got into this book and they started saying names of like places or people that were just like kind of made up. It helped my mind just like be like, that's fine, just skim past it, breeze past it, right? I don't know why I like binged the first part of it all in one day, which was good. I didn't stop. I probably read like 100 pages in the first day, which was definitely the way to go because it gets you into the story. It sets up like the background good and you get like a little bit into it so you're not so confused and lost, you know? But I don't know about this one. I think like, first of all, I can't picture the characters very well for some reason. Like, new information about the characters keeps coming up and I'm like, that's not how I pictured them. Like, I will try not to spoil anything, but for example, they keep referring to one character as boy, but then the way that this person acts, like in my head, that's very young. Like, boy is a very young description, and they keep saying like, oh, he's too young, but then he acts like very mature and older, and so I can't get the description properly in my head. Like, I can't really figure it out. And then I don't know, like the beginning was fine and I understand like some of the plot points in the beginning that needed to happen to like set up the story, but then the whole middle section I was like, did we need this? Like, couldn't we have just condensed it a little bit? Not that it's like too long, it's not even that long of a book, but I don't know, for some reason I'm like not bonding with the writing. Like, the writing is good and descriptive, but at the same time it feels very like choppy. Like, one thing will happen, you'll get like no, like it's not smooth, it doesn't like flow into the next part, it's just like boom, 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 boom. It's almost as if they didn't take a video like this. It's almost like they took like stop motion. So you're like missing those like fracture of a second in betweens that I feel like are really necessary to flow between one sentence or one like paragraph to the next. So when things happen, sometimes something happens and I'm like, whoa, where did that come from? And then when you're finally in like the, like, okay, like an adventure, mystery, that plot will happen, and suddenly it's just like bam, adventure, and then bam, it's over, and you're like, I was just getting used to like go, like drag that part out, like talk about what happens in that, like get your adrenaline actually moving, don't just like. And same with the romantic scenes slash like spice scenes so far, it was just, they're gone. Like, I don't know, I'm kind of struggling with this writing, I think, because of that. The concept I really like, which is why I bought this book, and I was really excited for it. I don't know. I do have to say, like, there is a couple parts where I'm like, oh yeah, like my adrenaline's going, like I'm getting into it, and then like I said, like it's like stop motion, like it's just not flowing nicely for me for some reason. So yeah, I'm not sure. Anyway, part 3. We'll see.
That's what makes it interesting, is you're afraid of it.
The success story of the character Rocky.
He said I want an accident. Wrote Rocky 2.
Oh.
Using drugs. In other words, the downside of success. This is not that guy. This is the guy who.
And having this job that he has to do.
How did you get fooled?
No, I ain't working one. I got canned today. Think about fight.
Could be whatever you want to be. You don't have to fight anymore.
He's there under a light. There's something about this guy he's destined to do something, and he's being held back for the wrong reasons. When he finally says, I never asked you to stop being a woman, please don't ask me to stop being a man, I can't.
Sorry for the lighting, but I just have to say, I'm on now page 364, and I just wish there was like a couple things that were different in this book. Like, I wish I connected to the characters more, because I feel like the author just did a lot of writing of the main character Elspeth, her, like, in her mind, and so I know what's going on because stuff has happened that, like, I don't know, it feels like we as the reader went along with it with Elspeth, but obviously the rest of the characters in the book have to figure it out, and now it's going into such like great detail and such great like plot points, but because it feels like we already kind of know, or it just wasn't expressed, like certain relationships between people like were not expressed, like she didn't show them, she just kind of told us like this is kind of how it was, and it was all in Elspeth's point of view. And then now stuff is happening and the plot points are so good and I want to like it, like I want to be connected, and I'm like happy that all these plot points are happening and happy that like it's like intriguing. I'm like glad that like things are coming to light. I'm glad that like all these things are happening, but I wish it was more of like a show don't tell earlier in the book. Like, why are we this far in and it seems like some of the biggest stuff is happening? I'm pretty sure there's a sequel to this, actually, so I just kind of answered my own question, but still, like, why wasn't there more of the characters' discovery of it together so that you could have seen it in, like, talking points rather than, like, just kind of explaining? I don't know. I don't think that made any sense, but it's really good plot points are happening right now, and it's really exciting. I just like feel like I'm not connected because I just wish that it was like written a little bit different. It still feels very choppy, like how I explained it earlier today. And I just want like these scenes where all of these good things are happening to last longer, but instead it's like half a page and then so many more pages of just like, you know? Ow. Okay, so finished One Dark Window last night. My thoughts on it. It was good. I enjoyed a lot of the plot points and I really enjoyed like just the whole idea and like what it was about. I liked the mist. I liked the character of like having the nightmare as like a character, a monster in her brain. Yeah, I liked it, but all of the stuff that I said about like the writing really didn't hold me in. I was just kind of trying to get through it for the most part, or like really excited to read, and this was my current read, so I got through it, you know? So that's kind of how I felt about that one, but I love the cover. I literally think this cover is so beautiful, and so I'm very excited that I have it. There's something about the gold. I don't know what it is, but love. So it's going back on the shelf now. Where do you fit? Yay! It's not exactly the size. I need to flip these around. Beautiful. Ugh. This book is confusing me. Like, the storyline is not confusing. Well, no, I don't know if that's even true. I'm, like, getting into it. I'm now on page 158. I'll talk about this more in the morning when I can, like, really talk about it, but I, like, don't understand. I'm, like, getting into the storyline, and then boom, something happens, and I'm like, where did that come from? And, like, why did it need to be there? And it's happened so many times that it kind of, like, throws you out of the story. You know, when you're, like, getting connected and you're, like, going along with it, and then, like, why? If you don't want any spoilers of this book, don't listen. It's not huge, but, like, there's so many weird, like, sayings and stuff in this book. Why did you put this in? Listen to this. This just says, where are we? Oh, yeah. Listen to this line. But I was a wolf now. A wolf couldn't peel off her fur. Why did that need to be in there? Like, okay, and then it just moves on. There's so many weird lines in this book. It's just, it's making me frustrated because we're going along on the plot, and then I'm, like, getting into it, and then immediately the plot changes, like, literally a few pages later, and I'm like, pick one pick one for this book. Don't pick 8,000 plots, and then have these weird-ass descriptions for stuff, like, a wolf couldn't peel off her fur. Then just the next page. Like, why? We get it. You don't want to take off your coat. That's actually what that's about, by the way. Why do we have to give a description like that? I don't know, man. Guys, I'm so happy. Also, look at this cute sweater. It's brand new and it's so cozy and I love it. I started Shatter Me. I love it. I was really excited to love it because I literally have these book covers as my wallpaper on my phone because I just think they are so gorgeous and pretty, and the whole series is just so pretty that I really wanted to like it. But I did not go and buy the whole series all at once because I was kind of, I don't know, like, even though I love the covers so much, I didn't want to, like, not like the book and have all of them, you know? So I bought the first one. I am now 88 pages in, so I'm on chapter 15, and I annotated it. I've never annotated a book. I never even understood why people did that, or, like, why you would want to do that. I've saved quotes from books that I really like on my phone. Like, I have an app, my notes app, and I've saved a lot of quotes that I really like, but I've never had the urge to annotate a book. I never, like, understood that until I picked this one up and immediately just started underlining. Look at how many, so many lines just from this beginning. So now I'm on a quest to buy pretty sticky tabs so that I can get rid of all of these yellow little ones, but in the meantime I have them, and I I've never annotated a book, and for some reason, just the feeling of this one, I just started underlining things. And then today I went with my sister to Indigo and bought the next 2 in the series. So I'm so excited. I don't know, I've never felt this way about a book before. It's so different. It's not like, oh my god, I love it and I've never loved a book before. It's not like that. It's very different. I don't know, something about her writing, I'm like in love with, clearly. Like, I just needed to save so many of these lines. Let me even try and find one. I think it's because there's so many quotes. Okay, this shouldn't give anything away, but because again, I'm so like soon into it. But it's just the way that she writes and the way that, like, essentially, sorry, if you don't know what this book is about, this is a long ass series. I'll put a photo up, but it's essentially about this girl who, when she touches people, they die. I think, I don't know if you actually learn what it is, but as much as I know, her touch is fatal, essentially. And so she is living in this, or she got captured and is kind of living under like this new government, and yeah, essentially that new government is planning to use her gift as a weapon. That's all that I know about this, and all of that is said on the back, so I'm not spoiling anything for you. This series has been out for a long time though, and I am so excited that I'm getting to it. But essentially, like, a lot of the quotes, I think why I really like them is because they just like hit in the same way that I believe about environmentalism and about like the planet and the earth, and how much I care about that and have always like resonated with and cared about that. And the way that they're talking about this like new world under this new type of like reestablishment government just is so, it just hits. Like, listen to this. Even the wasted oxygen of our dying earth tastes like heaven. Hope in this world bleeds out of the barrel of a gun. This one literally sounds like something that I would say to people. I see a superficial world existing in the midst of a terrorizing reality, and I can't move. So many people must have died to sustain this luxury. I think I've actually said those words before. Like, I just, like, I can't. So I started underlining all of these things. I wish I could stuff my mouth full of raindrops and fill my pockets full of snow. I don't know what it is about her writing. It's just got me like destroyed, basically, which is so weird because I know that those are such interesting like comparisons, I suppose you would say. I don't know the right words to talk about this in, but I know that, like, you know, those are such like vivid detail for something so little. And it's funny because the last book that I read, I didn't even put it back in here, so it's not actually on my shelf, but remember I was talking about like how she was describing like this coat. I'm like, no one cares, like, put on the coat. But then you have this, like, I want to stuff my pockets full of snow. Like, me too. Like, I know what that, I don't know, something about it just like is speaking to my heart. So yeah, I totally bought the next 2 books in this series out of 18 million, but I might buy the novellas. There's 2 novellas that go in between, and they didn't have them at Indigo when I went, but I might order them on Amazon because I also couldn't find any nice sticky tabs, so I'm gonna have to order those on Amazon. And you know what I mean? All of those might just come together in the same order. So yeah, that is my book update. I am kind of without words. I just love it so much, and the writing has just got me like, I've never read something where I've felt the need to underline like so many things before. I mean, I've never I think you get it. I'm gonna read. to apologize in advance for the quality of this shot, but I just had to say I'm rereading Ellie and the Harp Maker. I started this book. I bought this book at the very beginning of COVID, actually. I went on like a buying book spree at the very, very beginning of COVID when I was living in my student house, and we kind of had nothing to do. And I remember going to Shoppers and buying just a couple different books, and this was one of them, and I remember loving it. Like, obviously it's my name, but also I just remember loving this book so much. But I don't remember too much of what happened because it's been a couple years now, and I don't know why. It's gorgeous, it's beautiful. I love this cover. I also just finished, literally like an hour ago, I just finished the Destroy Me, which is the first novella in the Shatter Me series after the first book, Shatter Me, and it was great. I don't know why. I'm not like a romance reader at all, so I don't know if I would even classify this as romance. I don't actually think that it is necessarily, but it's a lighter, kind of like uplifting, just like a good feeling book is kind of what I remember. This one, and I don't have it, it's in the bus, but The Little Bookshop on the Seine is another one that I bought at the same time, and it was also just like a very, just like good feeling book, you know? Anyways, I don't remember much about this one, but I just immediately started tabbing it. And now I remember because the main character reminds me of Ove. If you've ever read A Man Called Ove, I know there's a movie on it now. I read that book so many years ago. I think I've reread it like 3 times now. It's honestly one of my top favorite books, and the main character of this reminds me of him. Like, I read him in the same voice in my head that I read Ove, and I'm like kicking my feet. Like, I love it. It's not like really romancy, it's just the way that he talks, and I just love it so much, and I just had to say it as I'm like in the mood. I'll talk about it more later, I'm sure, but just as I'm like in the mood, like, oh, he just sounds like Ove, and he reminds me of Ove, and I just like my heart is just going like, look at, I just guess what just arrived? I'm so surprised because the delivery date for this was November 29th to December 6th, and it is November 27th. So I was not expecting this, and I am so excited. I got Magnolia Park's the old cover. I got it used off Amazon, and it looks like it's in great condition. And I have no idea if I'm gonna love or hate this book. Honestly, I've heard so many conflicting opinions, and I have no idea what side I'm going to be on. I'm also not a romance reader, and I know I shouldn't think about this as a romance book because it is certainly not, and so I'm not going into it with that expectation. And I also don't read romance books, so it's not like I have a preconceived kind of notion or feeling. I do read thriller, mystery, and horror primarily, so yeah, I have no idea. But basically, I've been really intrigued about this book because I've heard so much about it, and they just came out with brand new covers, and I hate them. They're so ugly. I literally couldn't buy the book. I went to Indigo and I picked up the cover, and I was like, I actually can't have this on my shelf. Like, it's so embarrassing. But this cover, first of all, it's just beautiful. I just really like it. I love all her old covers. I'll put some pictures up here of like, it's Magnolia Park's Daisy Hates, Magnolia Park's 2, and then Daisy Hates 2 so far in the series, and my favorite booktuber like stands by, absolutely loves these books, and we don't have the same taste, but for some reason, I mean, she's just raved about it, and seeing her like talk about it so much, and seeing her first reaction when she very first read this first book, and seeing how many times she's reread it and re-annotated it and everything, I mean, I just had to get it. And so when I saw those new covers, I was like, I literally cannot buy this. Like, it's hurting me. I just can't, and I won't buy it. But then I went on Amazon and I grabbed this, again, used, and it came in today, and I am so excited. And I got another really, I'm staring at it right now, really exciting delivery, which you probably already know about in this video, which is so crazy and exciting. But yeah, don't know when I'm gonna get to this, but I have no idea if I'm going to be absolutely wrecked from this book. But I'm so excited it's here. I mean, I really cannot believe this. I thought this would be basically impossible. I haven't found this in weeks and weeks now. I thought it was going to be covering the shelves when it first came out. Haven't been able to find it at all. Cannot believe I walked to the very back of the one section. Just took a quick, just in case, just in case. I was like, this is the one book that I would get if it was here. Let's just take a quick peek. 2 left. It's thick. She's thick. And gorgeous. I don't know why I saw this online and was like, this is so ugly, this cover, but in person, it's beautiful. I am so excited. I can't believe I found it. Wow. I am such a nerd for books. I am just so excited. Oh, I can't believe I have it. I've gotten so many books recently. I mean, I gotta add them to my bookshelf tomorrow. Oh my goodness, I can't believe I found it. Wow, this is so exciting. No spoilers. All y'all, but for a later video, maybe. Okay, so since we have now finished the reading vlog portion, I wanted to do a little bit of a wrap up of all the books that we read in this video. As you'll notice, I did rearrange and redecorate my room, so I'm excited to have this new corner, which you can't even see, but with this new beautiful bookshelf up here. Look at that. So now I have a bookshelf in this room, and I also have one in the bus, which is really exciting to have different books stored in different places. But okay, let's go over these books. I think we'll just start, maybe we'll try and go in order of this video. I think we started this video off with One Dark Window by Rachel Gillig. This book was one of my very first fantasy books. The first one that I read was Fourth Wing, and like I said in the video, I dove right into this afterwards, and I'm really glad that I did that because Fourth Wing was just such a good introduction to fantasy, so I could get into the writing and kind of like the more made up words a little bit easier for like places, things, and people, you know? This book sounded so interesting, which is obviously why I bought it. It fell slightly flat for me, but mostly just kind of mid, I would say. If you don't know, A One Dark Window is essentially about the main character named Elsbeth. There is essentially in this like town or city basically where there is this mist, which is kind of like an evil presence essentially that is covering the kingdom. Elsbeth has Nightmare trapped in her brain, and Nightmare is like an actual character in this story, which is really cool. I really liked that. And essentially in order to get rid of the mist covering the town, you need to collect these 12 Providence cards, which sounds like such a cool story, and it was a really cool idea, really cool story. So Elsbeth kind of goes on this journey to try and collect all of these cards, but she's actually one of the people who's infected with Nightmare, and she's like keeping it a secret from everybody because they're trying to get rid of all the people that are infected in this town, and so she's trying to keep it a secret from everyone. But Nightmare is an actual character in her brain that, yeah, is, you know, really pivotal to the story, which is super cool. And yeah, I did like this book. I don't really rate books, but I did like it. It was probably just slightly above mid for me, and I would recommend it to people. However, it is a duology. The next one is Two Twisted Crowns, which has already come out, but I don't think I'm going to read it. So that's kind of how I felt about One Dark Window. But look at this, like genuinely look how beautiful this cover is. That's why this one is in the bus, because I just love the spine. I just love the look of this book so much. So that was this one. Then we moved on to The Writing Retreat by Julia Bartz. This was so weird. Guys, I don't even know if I have a better way to describe it than that. The problem was, not like a problem, but one of the things I did at the beginning, which I usually never do, is I flipped and read about the author when I was still in the beginning of reading this book. And I think it was a mistake, because this is her debut novel, and she's also a psychologist. And both of those things really played into this book. Essentially, this book is kind of like a mystery thriller. It's about this girl who is like an aspiring writer, essentially. And she gets this, like she wins this trip to one of her most favorite authors' house. Basically, she lives in like this huge mansion, kind of like on off the grid kind of thing. And she wins this trip with 6 other aspiring writers, and the idea was, you know, you're gonna get to learn under that favorite author as like a mentor for you, and she's gonna help essentially like get you your first kind of published book, or like help progress your career basically. But as you can tell by the cover, clearly something maybe goes wrong with the weather or something, and they kind of get trapped in there. Now, another really major part of the story is that she's also trapped there with her ex-best friend, who also won like one of the tickets to go to this. So yeah, there's a lot of like character dynamics in this. Now, the story started off strong. It really did, and part of the mystery, like the main part of the mystery, was really interesting. But this went in 18 million thousand different directions. Like, I don't know, like pick one plot and stick with it, you know what I mean? It was so crazy. Just so many more things kept happening, and more character dynamics kept playing into it. It was very obvious that she is a psychologist, because every character was getting like analyzed with some kind of like pretty typical, not like disorder, but like character flaw kind of thing. And everyone was just getting over-analyzed, and then the plot just kept going in so many random weird directions that, like, I mean, really, it really took just too many turns that I felt like started to get way too far out there. Like, I love when mysteries like take turns, obviously, that you don't expect, but this one just, it was trying to do too much for this one short book. So yeah, weird. It was weird. In the middle of all of this, which I didn't talk about at all, but I read Fox and I. Fox and I is by Catherine Raven, and these types of books, which are either like autobiographies or biographies or stories from like a real person's life or a real person's experiences, these kind of stories are the ones that I usually read in the morning. I have different like times that I read in the day, and when I read in the morning, my morning routine is always to get up and journal and read, and usually I'll read the more like the heavier books in the morning, and then kind of like the lighter, more fun books at night. And so this one took me a little bit longer because I don't get through them usually as fast, but not because it was bad or anything. It just took me a bit longer because I read them, you know, a couple, maybe like a chapter, 2 chapters at a time in the morning. But look how gorgeous this book cover is. Essentially, this book is her story of Catherine, who is a PhD and like a professor and educator, and she's worked in like national parks as rangers for much of her life. She lives very off the grid in, I think, Wyoming, in her like little cabin basically in the mountains, and it was an actual story about how she befriended this fox that came and visited her. And yeah, it was just really sweet and cute. The book is written pretty, I would say, academically, because again, that's her background, and so it is a little bit more like there are quite a few big words, more like academic words essentially, but it is again her real story, and it was just so sweet. There were so many like cute, sweet moments in this book about the character of the fox, who is a real fox, and this like friendship that they kind of ended up having, which was just really, really adorable. I actually bought this book when I was moving into the bus. I bought a couple of books like this about just like reconnecting with nature, because I thought it would help me feel a little bit less alone if I was traveling alone, and also connecting with nature, and that like other people do that too in special ways. And yeah, it was very sweet and really good, but definitely a little bit more tricky to kind of get through, just because she is just a very well-educated person, and so it comes across that way in her vocabulary, I would say. But yeah, it was absolutely beautiful. I really liked it. Then we moved into a reread, which is Ellie and the Harp Maker. I mean, this book is really sweet. It's just really cute. I don't really read like romance books or anything like that typically, or like at all, but this was, again, I explained when I picked this up, but yeah, the reread of it was so sweet. I needed just kind of like a fast pace. I just remember so many good things of it, and I absolutely adore this cover because it's so stinking cute. And yeah, it was really, really good, really cute. This is, as the title suggests, the main character's name is Ellie. She essentially strikes up this relationship with this harp maker whose name is Dan, and he is kind of like this a little bit like odd, weird, like a bit like socially awkward kind of a character that lives in the barn where he makes harps and then sells them. And he's just like in love with harps and in love with nature and kind of like his whole cabin and cottage and where they live. And it is so sweet. Ellie's marriage is like not breaking down, but they're definitely going through kind of like a rough patch. And then obviously she meets this guy Dan, and yeah, it was a really sweet story, but definitely things did happen, and like they did face kind of real challenges throughout the story. But it was just really sweet, and the character of Dan I just love so much. Something about like the really kind of like socially awkward but like sweet characters, like a little bit of like a Big Bang kind of vibe. I love those characters so much. Like they make me so happy. It's the same with A Man Called Ove that I was explaining earlier. They just melt my heart, and I just love those people, and I need more friends like that in real life because they are so adorable and quirky, and I just love them. Like, let me find some lines from Dan to kind of help. I like paper, of course. Paper is great, made from trees, and who can question the greatness of trees? And about people that are like walking around inside. Like I spend far too much time in my life inside, and we have outside for walking. Yeah, it's just really sweet. Dan is just like such a sweet character, and yeah, it's really cute. It's a really cute, fast read. I've heard nobody talk about this book, and again, it's been out for quite a while now, but it's really, really cute. So pick it up if you're in the mood for something like this, for sure. Then that's when we got into our Shatter Me series craze. We started off with Shatter Me. If you don't know, Shatter Me is a dystopian kind of fantasy, or just this dystopian novel, I guess. It's essentially about this main character. Her name is Juliet, and her touch is lethal. And so she's actually been trapped in this, well, we don't really know, some kind of like a, not even like a hospital, more like a jail kind of situation, because obviously she has this like really fatal touch, and the town is now run by the Reestablishment. And because this is like a dystopian world, it's set like a couple years in the future, and so the whole society has pretty much shut down, and this thing called the Reestablishment has taken over as like a form of government, essentially. And the Reestablishment now found out about Juliet and essentially really wants to use her and weaponize her power in the way to like fight, get back against the people, and kind of use that touch to either study it but also like use it as part of their like new governing control, essentially. And so it is amazing. The writing of this series, this is by Tara Maffey, and her writing is so amazing. I don't even know how to describe it. The way that I was saying before, like the amount of comparisons in here that are so like visceral almost, like you can totally feel what she's trying to get across is just so amazing, and I absolutely fell in love. I did get my new tabs, by the way, for all of these, and I ended up tabbing so many books after that, but it was really, really, really great. And then essentially the characters just kind of continue on this journey of working with, like, kind of fighting against the reestablishment and trying to figure out like what they're going to do. The writing in this too is really great because you're really like in the mind of Juliet. A lot of it follows kind of like her diary entries through the years when she was captured as well, and so a lot of the writing is like scratched out on the page or like repeating thoughts, as if like her brain is kind of like running and repeating over and over itself, trying to like piece the story back together, because she's had this like such a traumatic incident happen to her, right? And it was just fantastic, and all of the book covers are just absolutely gorgeous. Now the series is very, very long, but I did buy Shatter Me, and then this is Unite Me is 2 of the novellas, Destroy Me and Fracture Me. Essentially there's like a main book and then a novella in between like each one of the series. So I did read Shatter Me, and then I also read the first novella in this book, which is called Destroy Me, and that is from another character's point of view. So it's kind of similar to a little, like a couple of the plot points in here, but it is from another character's point of view, and you really get like an in-depth kind of look into their head and their brain and like what's kind of happened in their past, essentially, to make them act the way that they do. And then it goes into the third one, which is Unravel Me. I didn't put that in the video, but I did actually ended up reading that, and I also have the 4th one, and then it goes back into the second novella, and then the 4th book, which is Ignite Me, which I have not read yet. But yeah, I'm kind of in love with this series. I can't wait to continue it and read more, and the writing is just fantastic and amazing, and I'm very excited about it. I definitely fell in love with this, and as I'm talking about it, I like need to get back into this series and back into the other book for sure. But that essentially wrapped up this reading vlog. Again, thank you guys for coming along with me and reading some of these books with me over the past, you know, few weeks. They were great. They were kind of a great mix of reads and of genres. I'm excited to do some more reading videos on my channel, so please comment down below or like this video if you would enjoy seeing that as well. But yeah, thank you for following me along. If you have any questions about any of these books, please leave the comments spoiler free as well. But if you have any questions about them or any recommendations for anything else that I should read, please leave them down below. It's great to hear all of all of the book things, because I absolutely adore reading, and books are like one of my favorite things ever. So yeah, thank you guys again for watching this video. I hope you have a wonderful day, and I hope I will see you in the next one. Again, just remember, every adventure is worthwhile. Keep sharing those stories. Love you guys. Bye!